Good morning, everyone. Mike and David here today on this Friday, which is almost the end of 2024. I'm going to talk a little bit about, is the Santa Claus rally continuing? Don't look at the markets today. They're in the red, but we're still up, at least this past week. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about spending habits developed in youth and maybe how to break bad habits. And then what's called doomsday spending or doom spending by younger generations than me. And then David's going to talk about the exciting world of college financial aid and some of the increased costs there. So before I get started, I'll remind you this is a financial education presentation. You must do your own due diligence on anything that you hear in this presentation. More disclaimer information can be found on ankerstarwealth.com, and the opinions expressed are mine and David's alone. So I know Corey the other day talked about the Santa Claus rally, and on Christmas Eve, the markets were up nice. Unfortunately, since then, the last couple days, they've come down a little bit. I'm showing you the markets in the red, but I'm just going to back it up and show you the S&P 500 on a 5-day graph, and you can see that it's up in the last 5 days. So the Santa Claus rally continues, except for Santa might be returning some presents there in these last few days. But we have a few more days next week, and we'll see how this goes into 2025. And it's very thin trading, so it's just, there's not a lot of people are on vacation and things like that. So I did see this article and I thought this was interesting, is your money habits trace back to your childhood. And that's kind of scary because, all of us have different money habits. We have different, maybe things that we'd like to break. And when you say, oh, it's back in my childhood, it's like, what could I do? How could I fix it? And what this article talks about is the scarcity effect or wealth effect. So how you were raised. So those of you that like lived in a very scarce, you might be more tempted to hold on to everything you have and to be more of a saver, which, part of the investing side, you kind of like that. I don't know that's necessarily that negative of a habit. The other effect is that maybe if you've grown up in wealth, you have a tendency to spend everything you make or spend more than you make. And I always remember this quote from Warren Buffett. No, it wasn't Warren Buffett. It was Sam Walton, and he had obviously billions that from the Walmart empire, and he passed on to his kids when he passed away. And he said, "I want to give my kids so much money that they can do anything, but I don't want to give them so much that they can do nothing." And think about that. I always think that's just a fantastic quote. He passed billions on to them. Yes, they could. He passed enough that they could do nothing. So he didn't really execute that. Another thing is, how do you improve this if you have this habits from your childhood? Self-sabotage. So there's reasons why you spend, and some of it can be related to anger. I've seen boredom, loneliness. There's different things that can cause you to spend. And when you have things like Amazon on your computer and you get bored, it's really easy to spend. So that's definitely a way to engage in overspending. But some of it is digging in deep into those feelings. Another one could be you could be that scarcity mindset. You're so worried you're going to run out of money, which obviously if you keep your checking account balanced and you understand, what that possibility is. If you don't track those things, it seems more random, like you really could run out of money. The other article that I found that was interesting today, and it was called Gen Z and Millennials Are Increasingly Doom Spending. And since, I've got some Gen Z kids around me, I was like, oh, I better check this out. What is doom spending? I thought maybe it was like prepping for, end of the world, but it's more mindless shopping to self-soothe because they feel pessimistic about the economy and their future. And I hope that doesn't happen, but just the article being out there, it is realistic that some kids today, I say kids because they're in their probably their 20s, are like, oh, the interest rates are so high, I'll never buy a house, or I missed the big stock market increase. I might as well just spend what I make and buy. And I think that these two articles are very related in a sense. But this isn't even related just to the United States. So anyways, I thought this was just a good article to think about, as a lot of people that are listening to this might not be in this generation, but your kids and your grandkids might be. So this might be the first generation that feels like they're going to be poorer than their parents or grandparents. So a lot of that's attitude, and hopefully as things move forward and people get jobs and hit the real world, that'll change. But a big part of that is the cost of college. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to David, and I know he's going to talk about college financial aid.
Well, if I can just add on to that real quick, but it makes sense though, right? Because if you're not talking to your kids about investing, and I'm borderline millennial, I guess. I was born in 1984. When I started high school in 1999, I could buy a Coke from the vending machine for 75 cents. Or if I went to the corner store, it cost me 87 cents. I looked at a 20-ounce Coke the other day in the gas station. It was $2.99.
Uh-huh.
So if you don't know about investing and how to beat inflation, then yeah, it's dire, because why am I paying $2.99 before tax for a product that's not worth any more today than it was then? So
And I think that's interesting because you can go to Costco and probably still get it for 87 cents. But I'm even seeing it go one notch further, where kids that don't drive, because auto
yeah,
insurance is so expensive, they're ordering that Coke through DoorDash for $5. So
yeah,
it's the same exact product. It's just where you get it and how it gets delivered to you.
yeah, that's true. Uh, that's true. I don't DoorDash, so I mean,
No.
uh,
Well,
all
hopefully
right.
you
So,
drive though.
but I do drive. Yeah, I do drive. That's true. So this truck's a couple of years old, but I would be shocked if the trends on this have changed in the last 2 years. And so if you look at the top three, two of them are college related: college tuition and fees, college textbooks. Prices are going up. And so colleges are starting to combat this, because I was looking at an article from Bloomberg, and it was talking about, as universities are hitting that $100,000 for annual tuition,
Wow.
100 grand for 1 year, just blows my mind. There's more doom spending right there.
Yeah.
You have these universities who are starting to get pushed back, because last year there was a decline in student enrollment for AT years of about 5%, and they attribute a little bit of that to the FAFSA rollout being more complicated than it should have been. But now these universities are starting to try to combat that. And so if you live in the Austin area, for example, you've probably already heard this news, where if you make less than 100 grand a year and you get accepted into UT, then you don't pay for tuition, is free. So you get your tuition for free. And so other universities are doing that. And I think this is so important, because this always goes back to my main point in college. If you're paying full price for school at university, you're doing it wrong. As a former high school teacher, there are so many universities out there, colleges out there, that are wanting students and are willing to give very, very good financial aid packages if you are willing to look. And so, a lot of these higher level universities, Ivy Leagues, I think they're starting to run into this, because now they're getting more, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? They're getting more generous with their financial aid packages, where some of the Ivy League schools are not including the equity that you have in your home as part of your financial aid, because some people have lived in their homes for a long time. I know in that North Austin area, when I first moved there, home prices were like $300,000, and now you're looking at $1 million plus for the same homes. Well, I mean, if you bought it for 300,000 and you've paid half of it off and it's worth $1 million, that's a huge chunk of equity that you have in this property. So universities are looking for ways to combat this, because the prices are still going to go up. So, and I say this, and if you're a senior, if you have a kid that's a senior, it's probably too late, but maybe not. But especially juniors, if you're a junior or you have a student who's a junior and they're getting in that process of doing the FAFSA, beginning the search for where do they want to go to school, and they're doing their college essays, which they'll be doing this summer. They want to have those finished before they go back to school to start their senior year, because senior year gets very busy. Look outside the box. Yes, it would be nice if we could all go to a big name university, Harvard, Stanford, Rice,
Ohio State.
Ohio State. I wouldn't. My wife went to the University of Texas. I was a Texas Tech grad. I mean, look, but if you want to go to college, look. And there was another thing in that article that I jot down, where at MIT, if for the 2023-2024 school year, if you paid that out of pocket, it was $86,000. But for the median cost for students who received financial aid, it was only $12,938. That is a staggering difference in the cost. 86,000 versus 13,000. So I think that really goes to my point of, don't pay full price to go to school. Find somewhere that will pay you, because there is somewhere that will pay you.
That's
So,
good.
what do you think,
That's
Mike?
good. Yeah. I mean, I'll throw out, as a military person, I joined the military. That paid my undergrad, and then my graduate degrees. The companies that I worked for pay for them. So I mean, there's options out there like that to avoid going into debt. It's very interesting how much universities charge nowadays. Some of what you're paying for, next week we'll see Texas and Ohio State in the college football playoffs. You're paying for some football coaches and teams there too.
Yeah,
Sorry, Alabama, not there. But it's just interesting to me. When I was in the computer science world, I did some research, and there's free courses that are out there too. So anyways, I mean, definitely explore. I know that a lot of times you're paying for the college experience. And it's almost like your kids get to spend an extra 4 years growing up as they move out of their parents' house and live in the dorms and things like that. So, I don't know. I'll never forget. I had a coworker at a company I was at, and he started in customer service at 18 years old, did his undergraduate, graduated by 24. Met his wife at the place where we worked, did his MBA, and his name was Dave. And I was like, Dave, I know maybe you didn't have that college experience, but that is like a parent's dream. Here you are, you've got 12 years of work experience. You met your spouse at work. You have your graduate degree. Yeah, you didn't go party at college, but I don't know how you could have it any better. So I hope Dave's doing good at that. Who knows where he's at now, but I was like, I mean, how could you have it any better? That was so good. So anyways, I was like, I'll let you talk to my kids. I'd love for them to follow that path.
Well, I mean, and there's the question: is the college experience worth paying off your student loan debt when you're 60? I don't think so.
No,
how long?
it's not.
How long do you want to pay for that experience? How many years? No, thanks.
And if any colleges are out there looking for students, I have maintained my Division I football eligibility. So if you need me to come back, play defensive end, I'll get myself back in shape there for it. I'm sure I can understand the offense and defense now. I'm still eligible. Maybe a golf scholarship. That might be more my thing nowadays. Probably not pickleball. But
too many injuries in pickleball.
I know, I had one, so I better stick with something safe like football. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody. Have a great weekend. I know we'll have a couple shows next week as 2025 gets ready to start. Have a good one. Thanks. Bye.